About my career, I do have around 15 years of experience and 3 years on-site. So I worked in the USA as well as in the Canada, and 12 years of experience in the offshore. So, and I completed my project management professional course also. So from last 10 years, I keep giving trainings on GD&T, and I handled around more than 50, and currently also we are giving sessions on GD&T also. So I handled around 10,000 thousands of participants, and for the companies like GE and L&T and RGBSI and some other institutes also, I given my lectures on the training of GD&T. So this is my introduction about me and as well as the GD&T career. So the next one is why we need a GD&T. Before going that, okay, some of the problems that we are facing in our industry. So that I'm going to take it up, but it is not covering all, but which are the major, and it's very difficult. Those things I'm going to address now. So skilled labor shortages are there. What is meant by skilled labor? A skilled labor is the thing that he has to think out of the box, or he has to do the work which is not intended in the scope of work. So that is called a skilled labor. But the skilled labor, we do have a shortage. So it is not in the what you call as in the design as well as in the manufacturing, inspection or assembly, or what you call as in procurement, in logistics, everywhere we are seeing skilled labor shortages are there. So because of this one, result in low production. Whatever we intended to produce, whatever the raw material that has been feeded at the start of the design, but we are not seeing at the end of the assembly. Why? Because shortage of the skilled labors. We do have a very good machines and all the things, the good programming and user-friendly programs are there. Even though we could not able to maintain a good what you call as percentage of quality. Why? Because of the skilled labor. The skilled labor, he may be not interested, or his skill set is not updated, or he may having some problem on the time of this one. So these all the things are made the skilled labor shortage. So because of this one, we do have a low production, low quality, as well as the product cost becomes expensive because the raw material investments will be there, and we have to pay for the what you call as the labor, irrespective of is done or not done, but is done for the day. So for that we have to pay the labor. So and all these things made a what you call as expensive of the product. Whatever we intended, for example, 1,000 products has to be produced for the material investment, but we got only 250 to 300. Then all the 700 to 750 cost will going to be impacted for only 250. So definitely the cost of that product will going to increase. So this is because of the skilled labor shortage. That is the one of the major thing. If you see that from the decades, the material cost is not increasing compared to the labor cost. The labor cost is increasing from day to day, day to day. Even if you see the higher level, what you call as the level of cadres, they don't have much what you call as a salary hike and all the things, but there is a lot of increase in the lower level. Why? Because the expectation is more from the industry, but this all impacted into the expensive in the product. The next one is the interchangeability. What is meant by interchangeability? This is a very important concept. Why? Because interchangeability is a product cannot be produced from the scratch to the end at a single what you call as roof. So different component has to be produced across the world that will going to come and get assembled. Example, if you take a Toyota, the Toyota which is put up in the Bangalore Birdi, so there they don't do the production of that one. So the most of the things will come from the abroad, and it will get assembled like that. If you take so many products that you will not get what you call as produced and assembled at the single roof, it will become across this one. What happens if you come across this one, the whatever the produced at one component, if you see this one, if you see this, whatever I cursor is locating on this one, it will be not assembled over here. Why? Because this is produced at some other location of the world, and this is produced at one, but it is assembled at some other location of the world. Okay, because of some tolerance values or some assumptions and all the things, it will not get assembled here. This is called interchangeability. So it has to be, say, what you call a scene that a common person has to be handled everywhere. That cannot be happen every time. So the product which is come from some other with the dimension and all the things, it should get assembled. Whatever it is counterpart, it is designed, it has to be assembled. But most of the times it will what you call as get failed. That is called interchangeable. Ambiguity in the production, quality and inspection. What that is they what you call as taken as a datum. It is not been referred in the quality. It is not to be inspected in the inspection. And assembly, definitely sometimes it will go wrong. So ambiguity will be across the industries of the mechanical industry. So that what happens, the assembly will be not happen even though component is correct because of the ambiguity. New product information. What is this new product? NPI is a new component. It is getting released to the market. So for that, the component is designed and given the proper drawing and all the things, but it is not been what you call as introduced earlier, so that will get failed. Why? Because of they will not give a proper what you call as information about the product. The proper information is not about the dimension. It will start from the tolerance. It start from the datum. It start from how you're going to manufacture. It is start from how you're going to assemble. Everything that has to be in a common drawing. That cannot be happen. The common drawing, it should have the documentations from where the material is to be brought. And what is the what you call as specification of that one. What is the inertia of that one. Everything should be in this one. But it is getting failed. And the root cause for the rejected, it's very difficult to find out the root cause. Everything what is happening in the manufacturing, they will tell, okay, we done as per the drawing. The inspection person will going to tell that, okay, we done the inspection as per the what you call as measurements. And assembly that, okay, we thought that, okay, this is the assembly location. Where you going to find out that? So why the component is get rejected? The root cause is totally failure. We cannot put the butting on any of these domains. Definitely it will goes to the problems to the design engineer, that a design engineer not did a proper thing. These are all the problems we are seeing. So next is the tolerance design. This is very difficult. What we think, okay, for functional features, we will give it tight. Non-functional is we will give what you call as loose. And something, okay, else we're going to give. Is this a correct? Nobody knows. Okay, we'll give it what you call as a tolerance. The tight tolerance will definitely will increase. If the component fully having a functionality, then the cost will going to increase. So if we don't have any room to give a loose tolerance or something else, that cannot be defined until now. So the tolerance design, everything will goes once again to the skilled labor only. But everywhere we don't find the skilled labor. And every time we don't get a proper consulting of that what you call as design of the tolerance.
So, and finally, only one thing that will going to come, even though he is a mechanical engineer or something else, the end customer will think that, okay, is this worth to the cost? Whatever I paid, is this much is the cost? That is what we're going to see. Why? Because whatever he thought, okay, it not be a worth because of all these problems. Do you agree with this one, or do you have any comments? Please let me know.
So this is the common problem is there. Then what is the lag behind? The lag behind in everywhere is the communication. What do you mean by communication? Communication is the share, what you call as language that we're going to tell. What is the language? Language we can going to tell only in writing only, on the drawing. What we can do, we cannot send a what you call as any record message with that one. We have to communicate on the drawing that. So it should have everything. It should be straight. It should be perpendicular. How we can tell? If you see the ASME or any of the ANSI standard, it will tell that you do have a permission to put only numericals on the dimension. It should be perpendicular. You cannot write it down. So something is missing over all these things. What is that one? Is the language that we have to use. What is the mechanical engineer's language? That is called geometric dimension and tolerance. The geometry, how it should be with the dimension and tolerance will going to tell the language properly that will going to communicate on the drawing. So if it is communicated, what are the advantages? The first, the design engineer should have education about the geometric dimension and tolerance. Once if it is done, then he going to tell that, okay, this line should be perpendicular to this one, this profile of this tolerance. And if he going to tell that, okay, this should be a variable gauge, this should be a fixed gauge. Why the variable gauge is to be required? The variable gauge is required when it is having a uniform fitness is required. That is called regardless of future size. So that we're going to see in the course. So when we're going to see that maximum metric condition, what is the maximum metric condition? Most of the components should get accepted. The bonus tolerance is going to play so that the rejected part also get accepted. Why? Because it is functionally correct. The 80% guy and 50% of the percentage guy can do the same type of a work. Why we cannot hire a 50% guy? That is what tell by the GD. If it is functionally correct, then accept this one. We are in the measurement, it is failed, but in the GD&T it is passed. Why? Because it will check the functionality of that one. Why? How you going to check the functionality? Only by the geometric dimension and tolerance. By your vernier caliber and screw gauge, it will tell that it is within the size or not. It will not tell that, okay, it will going to assemble or not. It will not give 100%. It will tell that, okay, it is within the size or not. So either you can go for the scrap or a reject, which is out of the limits that everybody knows. But it will not give assurance that it will be going to be functionally accepted in the assembly. Never. It only can tell by the geometric dimension tolerance. Why? Because it will be only dedicated to tell that functionality. The functionality is there, then the GD&T will going to play with that one. So every product having its own functionality and other things are not functional. If you take this one, if this surface, if this component, this surface is not having a function, but this is having a function of butting. This surface is having a function of butting. This surface is not having any function, but this bottom surface is having a butting. And this hole is going to be function. Why? Because it is going to be embedded with another component. So once if you are given this all the things as a functionality, GD&T will going to give a proper hands-on support to tell that if this is the functionality of that one, this will be accepted in this way. So this is already, it is dedicated for the functionality. So what are the advantages? Skilled labor is not mandatory. Why? If you goes to the time of 80s or early 90s, the CAD people should be having a very much talented. Why? Because the CAD software was not so easily available. Nowadays, the fresher will have all the softwares to be known for him. But that time in the 80s and the early 90s, he didn't know. Only they going with a drawing. They're going to manually draw. But now you have a CAD as a support. So the CAD support will going to give as an unskilled person also can do the model. Is it true? He can do the drawing easily. Why? Because the CAD has given the what you call as all type of supports. So because of this one, the skilled labor is not required for the CAD. The same thing is GD&T also there. Why? Because it is already comes with a template. This is a template. It is having a functional gauge. Because of this one, the component will get assembled easily or not. It will be tell by this template. The template is nothing but a tool. What type of tool? It is tailored to this one. This is not a standard one, but this is what you call as tailored to this size. So those things tailoring with this one and can accept 1,000 components or a lakh component. Just it has to pass this tool. So there, the skilled labor is not required. If the person, the designer, know about the GD&T properly, he can communicate easily, so that he should not have so much of what you call as knowledge that, okay, either I have to give a tight tolerance or a loose tolerance and all the things. If you do some calculation and all the things, it's already available in the book itself. He has to read and apply. No need to think about the skillness. Okay, it is out of the box. No need. So that skilled labor is not required. What is the main what you call as result of this one? You're going to get a good productivity. The cost of the product will get reduced because of use of a skilled labor are not required here. Interchangeability. Interchangeability is wherever the drawings run for this one, they will tell that this surface is a datum. This surface is a datum. This surface is a datum. What happens? Then the production guy will tell him that, okay, which is the butting surface. From there only he has to take and start doing the machining of this one and this one. And inspection also will going to tell that, okay, this is a surface he consider as a datum. Then he will start the demo. So the ambiguity is gone. So which is the produced one is to be corrected, is to be accepted in the inspection. What is the result of this one? The assembly will tell that, okay, this is a butting surface. Then he will tell within the tolerance. So this will get accepted. So there is ambiguity is gone. The interchangeability from wherever the product is produced, but within this one it is processed with the GD&T properly, then interchangeability will be successful. If you see that from different regions, the product cost will going to what you call as reduce. If you take some of the steel components from the North India, it's definitely it will be a cheaper. Why? Because there is a huge what you call as usage of the steel over there. But if you take the what you call as mild steel in the south, there is a huge. If you take a plastic in the South India, also they are using much. In the plastic, there are so many polymers that is going to use. So from the different regions, if you ask the component to produce, definitely you're going to get, successfully achieve the interchangeability, and result of this one, the cost of the product will get reduced. So hope you're getting the point. So interchangeability is very important to reduce the component cost. And ambiguity is gone. Why? Because if the manufacturer person know simple thing that which is the datum, which is the tolerance and all the things, he will be done. The quality will be gone. Why? Because it is already having this type of a templates. Only thing is he has to know that it's a variable gauge or a fixed gauge. That education may not be required more than a day to educate him. So for his career, that is done. So this is the ambiguity is gone, means the inspection, what you call the rejection in the inspection is very low. NPI. So in NPI, new product information, whether it's a new product or it is a old product, that doesn't matter. Why? Because it will have all the information to produce, to accept what you call as to do the quality and as well as the assembly. Everything is embedded with the GD&T. It is done. The bonus tolerance will make that if the component which is wrong, but it is functionally correct, it's going to be accepted. So no need to worry about the tight, loose or has something else. So there is no much requirement of skillness here. If you know, okay, it has to be produced, mass production to be accepted, you use the bonus tolerance. If you need a uniform tolerance, then you go for RFS. The simple things, if you know that this is done. So none of the parts will be rejected in the assembly, because if you are communicating properly with the GD&T, then the rejection in the assembly is very less. So much of improvement is happened because of the implementing of GD&T. GD&T is just nothing but a language for mechanical engineers. Without a drawing, without a GD&T, you can tell upfront it is an incomplete. It's an incomplete. I will bet you. After completion of that training in the GD&T, or you already taken the training in the GD&T, you can only tell that, okay, yes, without a GD&T, the product is an incompletely dimensioned. If you see this one, for the placement of this box, we will see that the tape is to be used and all the things. This is how sometimes we're going to use it. And the perpendicularity, we will tell, okay, how much from the square what you call a scale, we will tell that, okay, it is perpendicular, how much angle is there and all the things. From this one form, it is a straight or something else, so we will tell by this one. This all the work has to be done by the carpenters, not the mechanical engineers. Our here is this one. Location of this one is to be done with the position, profile of surface, run out, circular run out, symmetry, concentricity. When to use that, all the things you're going to see. So when the orientation, perpendicular, parallel, perpendicular to this surface, if this is a datum, if this is the surface is a datum, then parallelity. Or it is intentionally angular is there, what is the angular with the datum? These are all the things we can see in the orientation. And the size, okay, that's rule number 1. Okay, everywhere GD&T is required. If the size only take care, that is called rule number 1. You're going to see. Okay, so somebody tell that, okay, this dimension is not GD&T has applied. What is this one? This is called a rule number 1. That is what tell by the ASME. Next one is the forum. How much it is a straight? How much it is a flat for a flat surface? How much it is a circular for bearing application? How much throughout the component is in a contact? That is called cylindricity. The edge is in contact. How much it is having the, what you call as edge is having a proper profile of a line. These are all the things will be addressed. So these things you can what you call as properly use, which is the limitation of this one and where is the advantage of them. Each one, everything you're going to learn. Agree with these points or do you have any opposition? Please let me know. Because you all from the different domains of the mechanical industry. So maybe something else can be fixed. But I don't think that a GD&T other options are available. So it is a language. So other than this language is not available for the mechanical engineers to communicate. Some people will get tense if they see the GD&T on the drawing. They will tell, okay, this is really not possible to read. So this can be skip and all the things. These are all the shortcuts they want to know, they want to see. Why? Because they are not educated. They don't know the proper language of the mechanical engineer. The proper language of mechanical engineers is geometric dimension and tolerance. Any component can be produced without a drawing.
And then the racks will be connecting to another one.
Cannot be. So the drawing should be having a GD&T. If
We'll ask them.
so, the GD&T is very much required. No, it is not required. Some of the dimensions it's not required. When it is not required, also tell by the GD&T. When to use, when not to use, that is tell by the GD&T. So hope this slide is clear. So I am just going to the course details. So what we are going to teach here is ASME Y 14.5 2009. So under this one, you start with the dimension and drawings. So these things are what you call as in detail I anticipated here. So here you can see that, so dimension and drawings. As per this one, what you call as ASME, what is the fundamentals? The units of measurement, where to give a what you call as a tolerance, where to give a limits. And how can you tell that okay, drawing without seeing a title block that either it's a dimension of inch or a mm, that all the symptoms you're going to see. And dimensioning features, how you going to define a feature and all the things. You may doing the correct, but you will get tense if some seniors will going to ask aggressively, intentionally that is this the way to do. Because you don't know the standard. So the ASME will not only tell about the GD&T, it will tell about the dimensioning first. First you have to dimension it, and after that second is the GD&T application. So the first 1 and 2 chapters, it will be on the dimensioning only and defining the feature. So in the second also you're going to see the initial tolerance design. What are the initial tolerance design? Either you want to give a bilateral, unilateral, how the product will going to act, what is its sizes are there. And is the geometric dimensional tolerance is also a tolerance from where it is derived. So those things you're going to see. And GD&T key terms, what is meant by feature and feature of the size. So many times it will be what you call as a confusing. ASME has given a proper definition, what is meant by feature and where is the feature of the sizes. And actual local size also. What is the local size? What is the mating envelope? These all the terminologies you should use. So next is the modification symbol, virtual and resultant conditions. You should know what is meant by VC, what is meant by RC, when to use RC, when to use VC. Effect of MMC, what is the effect of this MMC, when to use MMC, when to use LMC, when to use RFS. We know the calculation by seeing and all the things, but the decision making is very difficult. So those things you're going to learn.
Not to start.
First of all, GD&T rules having this one. If there is a dimension, is to be GD&T or not. Those things you can see by the GD&T rules and all. There is a second rule also there. So for everything, there is some examples and problems and all the things you're going to see and you have to work out. So here, geometric dimensioning and tolerance is not reading the theory. The 50% if you read the theory, in the remaining 50% you have to do the problems. By doing the solving the problems only you can understand what is the GD&T meaning. Most of the concept, it will be a very difficult to understand. But when you see with the example, you will get clear. But in my classes, I will be not as your trainer. I am like your mentor.
60.
So I will individually take the responsibility, either you understood or not. This problem has to be, because I will give the assignment and you have to reply individually. So tell that, okay, this is what the answer and all the things are. So at the end of the sessions, you make sure that, okay, this is what and all the things are. Once you practice here, there is no need to do anywhere. You start doing that, okay, okay, what is the virtual condition? What is the resultant condition? What is the inner boundary? What is the outer boundary? What is the maximetric condition, metric condition? So you will make such a practice that, okay, by what you call as orally, you can tell. No need to do by the what you call as calculation. So most of the times I seen in the training and all things, even though they come for the advance, then they will just what you call that, okay, so how to do, and they need a calculator to do. And sometimes they will get confused that which is the maximetric condition and least metric condition. Why? They don't have a proper practice. Previously they taken a theory just by listening just as a theory. But here you have to do the problems. Like that, if we go to the 6, what is the datums? Why and when to use the datums? If I give a mechanical drawing to you, you guys will start, how are you going to read that one? First, you're going to see that what is the title block. In the title block, you're going to tell that, okay, is this a millimeters or inches, and what is the product name, and what is the material of this one. These are all the information you have to gather from the title block. So from there, you jump into the component and start reading the dimensions of that one. This is the way we're going to see. In the same way, GD&T having its own approach. The first one is the datums. Why? In any of your product, if you want to manufacture, what you're going to do? You have to constrain all degrees of freedom. Correct? So once if your degrees of freedom is constrained, then only you can do the machining operations. Correct? In the same way, yes, this GD&T also having the datums. Datums should be fixed. Next one is the 7th one is the concept and approach. How are you going to apply the GD&T? Datums is fixed. What is next one? These things you're going to learn. And after that, 14 symbols, how it is categorized into 4 that you have to know. Why we have to use forum? Why we have to use a orientation? Why we have to use a location? What is the shortfall in the orientation? Then only I can go for the location. So it's all the shortfalls you have to know. So in the 8th chapter, you're going to learn all these things. Because in the, what you call as in any of the textbooks, if you buy, it will tell that, okay, this is orientation is done. And location. Why we have orientation to location? There is no connection. But they will tell, okay, orientation chapter is done and location chapter starts. Why we have to go from orientation to location? There is a proper logic answer for this one that I am going to teach. Next is the profile. Why we need a profile? When orientation and location only can fix the things, why you need a profile of this one? When to use profile? These things we're going to see. Everything having a logic. Then if you have a logical, what you call as answer, then only you can remember. Next one is the run out. Okay, what is the run out? A component which is running. Okay. So then only run out can be applied. These are all the things where what is the impact of that one? Is there any effect to the size that you're going to see in the run out? Then a small introduction to stack-up analysis. First of all, we want to know that why stack-up is required and what is the simple thing we can do. There is a very small example of 1 or 2. I'm going to teach the stack-up analysis. This is about the basic. So I'm going to give this example. This is what a sheet metal and a plastic and all that. So this sheet metal is a form and the GD&T is applied on the lower side for the plastic and everything. So you can easily read this one once done with the basic. Sometimes by seeing the profile and all the things, they will get what you call the stance of why this one. Okay, datum targets are there. Why the datum is not enough? Why this datum targets are. Okay, it's a new concept that is out of the what you call the syllabus. They are all going to think like this one, but we're going to read in the basic itself. Sometimes I see in a very funny answer that I can apply the GD&T only for the plastic. And somebody will tell I will only apply it only to the machining component. There is no category for this one. For everything, GD&T is a common. Either it's a plastic or a sheet metal or a machine. These all the things you're going to learn in the basic. So this is what you're going to learn and all things. And if you want to take a technology level from the ASME, this syllabus is more than enough. I'm going to share the syllabus and as well as the course materials and as well as the problems and all things. And if you want to have any help in the future for reading the drawing or if you want to take a test and all the things, definitely there will be support from my side. So this is about the basic. Once it comes to advanced, what is the expectation from my side is at least you should know about some virtual condition, resultant condition, dimensioning and all the things you should know. So that is what the basic things I required if you want to join for the advanced. So this is as per the 2009. So somebody will going to ask the question that 1994 is not covered. Yes, it is covered. So 1994 is covered under 2009 with new symbols and with a new change in the terminology, but the meaning remains the same. So that is what you can see in the 2009. Most of the customers are using the 2009, but if they are not using 2009, 1994. So if you are done with the 2009, so you are done with the 1994. So there is no problem. What are the things you're going to learn in the advanced? First one is the introduction to hierarchy. So hierarchy will tell that, okay, from basic, how you're going to see and all the things that you're going to see. But we've seen already in the basic, but here, this is the starting point. Next is the datum and datum targets. Here, you will get the live component and you have to apply the datums. Only datums only, nothing else. How to define a datum, why datums is required, and by what basis you have to take a datums. Why you cannot take another datum. These are all the discussions we're going to see. Because from the basics, you may see that why is datums are required. But here also I'm going to give the terminology and after that directly I will jump into the giving examples. I will be not limited less than 5 products. I'm going to give more than 5 products to you. For each component, you have to apply the datums, nothing else. No GD&T and all the things. So you have to just apply the datum. First, you have to fix the component first. That is what. And datum targets, when to use the datum targets. When not to use a datum target. If you use a datum target, what are the things you have to give? These are all the things you're going to do with the datums. If you're done with this datum, for any component, you can apply. Already, if it is a drawing is there, then you can tell a comment that, okay, either datum is correct or not correct. That you can comment. You can give assurance for that, okay, this is a correct one or not. So these are the things you're going to see in the datum and data targets. What about the form tolerance? Form tolerance is not about the straightness, flatness and all that. It's what are its limitations are there. When to use the form tolerance? Is that datums has to be verified by the form tolerance. So these are the things you're going to see in the forum. Next is the orientation. From what is the shortfall in the forum? Why we have to go for orientation? This is going to see. In each parallel, perpendicularity and all the things, you will have so many applications and as well as the some of the real-time examples I also am going to give you so that you have to tell that what is the parallelism and lot of problems you're going to see at the end of the chapter number 4 as well as in the chapter number 3 also. Next is the location tolerance. Here we have to go for a location. Why the position, why the orientation is already fixed, why the location has to be done. These are the things you're going to see in the location. In that one, you're going to see the position and why we cannot use a symmetry, why we cannot use a concentricity. But I'm going to teach you symmetry and concentricity, but now it is all gone. Nobody will going to use that one. But you have to know that why we don't use that one. So before that, you have to know. So that I'm going to teach you. Next is the profile. When to use a profile? When the profile, neither it's a straight or a circular, it's a combination of both, then you have to use a profile. So that is the answer. So this is what where you're going to see. And is that it's going to fix the datum? This is going to see in the datum, so what you call as profile. Under the date profile also datum is fixed. Most of the times we are done with the form only datums and all the things. But here profile also be used as a datum. Without datums, how the profile is created and how it is inspected, everything. Go and no go gauges, everything you're going to design here. I'm going to give a one component and you have to write the what is the profile of that one for a go gauge and no go gauge. Everything is going to do it in the, under the lesson number 6. And 7, types of the runout. When to use a runout? What is the effect to the what you call as the material conditions for that one? What is the material condition? Maximum meter condition, least meter condition. Is affected by the runout? Why it has to be runout has to be affected? So those things you're going to see. So symbol for coaxial features. So coaxial features are there like a cylindricity, concentricity, runout, and as well as the position. So in that, when to use which one? That selection you're going to see in the coaxial feature. Next is the stack-up analysis. Detailed stack-up analysis. How to put a loop. From where to loop has to be done. Okay, for a GD&T applied, without a GD&T applied. So how to do this one? For fixed fastener, for floating fasteners, how you can distinguish. So these are all the things, and after that stack-up analysis, loops and all the things and formulas for this one, everything you're going to see. And where here we're going to use the resultant condition. So from here you can make a report like this one. So this is the end of the advance. So if you are done with this one, for not only reading a drawing, you can apply the GD&T from your own. And you will learn the what you call as the passion to apply the GD&T. So there is some passions for applying the GD&T that you're going to learn from this. Only because of the practice. How much you're going to do the practice and how much you're going to revise your own drawings, already you're done. And the current drawings and all the things, then you can learn GD&T properly. So this is what, and so thank for your time and all things. So do you have any questions to me? Let me know.